got a gun. What did her daddy do? What did he put you through? They say when Janie was...
What would Friday night be without some Aerosmith? That's Janie's Got a Gun. Steve Tyler and company. What did her daddy do? What did Janie's daddy do? What did he put her through? Quickly, are there any young children around you right now? Your kids, grandkids? Oh, sure, they might be cute. Whatever you do, don't trust them. Don't trust them. You see, those cute kids could be spies waiting to drop the dime on you, to rat you out to Big Brother. So what the hey am I talking about? I'm talking about the bizarre case of Jessie Sansone. Jessie's a young dad living in Kitchener, Ontario. 2 days ago, he stopped by Forest Hills Public School to pick up the kids. Next thing he knew, he was being handcuffed by 3 police officers, dragged down to the police station, strip-searched, I kid you not, tossed in the clink. And what, you ask, was Jessie's crime? Well, get this. His daughter, his 4-year-old daughter, had drawn a picture of a gun. Yes, she drew a picture of a man holding a gun. So the teacher asks questions, and she explains that it's her daddy who uses the gun to shoot the bad guys and the monsters. She's 4. Teacher is horrified and shocked, and of course the nanny state immediately jumps into action. The faculty is mobilized. Family and Children's Services are brought in, the social workers. Waterloo Regional Police, the cops, rushed to the school. You see, they now feared that the child had access to a gun at home based on a crayon drawing by a 4-year-old. Folks, it's time for some Canadian common sense. Jesse found himself in jail because of the drawing and testimony of his 4-year-old daughter, ready to be charged with illegal possession of a firearm. Now, the cops eventually figured out that Jesse didn't have a gun. Police eventually found a toy gun. They apologized and released him, but only after humiliating him, making him fear for his freedom. To be clear, Jessie Sansone has a criminal record. Yeah, 5 years ago, he was convicted of assault and attempted burglary. Not good, not good. But he's done his time. He's never had any firearms-related charges. Sansone is now a certified personal support worker. He's a life issues counselor. He even said that the school principal had offered him a job counseling students a year ago. I sincerely hope he's turned his life around. Look, I got it. I understand the concern for children's safety. And as you know, I'm not exactly the criminal's best friend. But it does seem to me that the authorities are quick to overreach when firearms might be a factor. What do I mean? Well, the law actually allows the police to enter your home without a warrant if you're a law-abiding gun owner. You're presumed guilty. That's right. If you own guns, have a proper license, etc., 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 the police are legally allowed to enter your home at any time with 0 warrants. No warrant to inspect the guns, to verify that they're being stored. They can just come in because you're a registered gun owner. Sadly, if you want guns, you're actually forced to sacrifice certain rights. Now, Jessie Sansone is not a gun owner, legal or otherwise, but his rights were trampled. In this particular case, he says he was asked to sign a form authorizing the search of his home after police had already arrested him and strip-searched him, tossed him in jail. What's more, they had already done what the police call a walk-through of his house. A walk-through? What police mean is that they already entered his house without a warrant. And in fact, Sansone, arguably under duress, was being asked to retroactively approve the search of his home, the search that already happened. We've already been in your home now. Just sign this. Tell us it was okay to do that. And remember, he was arrested. The only evidence the police had was the testimony of a 4-year-old. Police say that this arrest and warrantless search was justified since a gun was reportedly involved. So now, even the rumor of a gun, in this case a 4-year-old's crayon drawing, is justification for detainment and warrantless searches for the violation of our rights? I mean, honest to God, is this what the country's come to? Are we living in a communist dictatorship? And I never ask those things lightly. But these things actually happened under communism. Kids, children would be the sources for ratting out their parents as traitors to the state. You've probably heard the furor over the Conservative government's new internet snooping legislation. Much of the furor, much of the pushback is justified. The proposed bill allows police to gather certain digital information without a warrant. The legislation has had the unique impact of uniting many on the left and the right of the political spectrum. Great! I'm glad people are creeped out by this. But where's the outrage over the systematic violation of law-abiding gun owners' rights? Nothing. You see, to the liberal elites, guns are to be feared no matter what. Recall former Liberal Justice Minister Alan Rock saying, only the police and military should have guns. Enjoy hunting? You bloodthirsty savage. You're a target shooter? Why don't you take up yoga instead? This is how these folks think. If you're a gun owner, you sacrifice certain rights. Look, we shouldn't be picking and choosing on rights. Here's a novel concept. Want a search? Sure, get a warrant. It's as simple as that. Until then, leave me alone. No exceptions for different classes of Canadians based on what they own or don't own, or based on what their kids are drawing with their Crayolas. And I hope all Canadians can get behind that. That's Canadian common sense. Kid draws gun with a crayon. Dad gets arrested. Sun News reporter Kris Sims has been all over this one. Kris, what have you got? What's the latest?
Well, Charles, we haven't been able to reach the dad. I wish I could say that we had. We've been trying all day, and kudos to the original, the Record, which was the local newspaper there in Kitchener that got a hold of this. And I heard about it through Twitter, through one of our followers way out west, saying, you got to get on this. And so, like you said, this all started, and it's hard for people to believe, it started with a 4-year-old little girl, probably in junior kindergarten, drawing a picture of a man with a gun. Like she said, defending her house. Her daddy was, getting the bad guys and getting the monsters. I don't know which child wouldn't draw something like that, either from their own imagination or from a book or from an idea or from a movie. Who cares? A child drew something. And what a lot of people who are writing into Sun News Network and calling into Sun News Network are saying is, how does somebody make the jump? Where's the common sense of the teacher looking over a shoulder of a child saying, what's that, honey? That's my daddy getting the monsters? How do you make that leap to go, oh, well, I better report this to the principal, and then the principal saying, well, I better call family services, and then family services then calling the police? How is it that this domino effect of seeming ignorance occurred? And, I hate to compare things, but you, of course, remember the Shafia trial. That was a case of, a sentient, very articulate couple of young women saying, we fear our father, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those people weren't led away in handcuffs until the unthinkable happened. But in this case, a 4-year-old little girl who's making a drawing with crayons, and you make this jump. And not to the point of just having a chat. It's not like the principal called the adult into the office and had a quick chat saying, yeah, she drew this. This usually raises red flags, but I know you. Like you mentioned, he had previously offered him work. I get it. So just make sure you don't get her to draw too many of these anymore, okay? No. They actually invoked the entire law system there. And like you said, it sounds like they got a search warrant after the fact. I've been chatting with people here about this today. Some of these rights, Charles, go back to the Magna Carta. They're not optional. And when you hear things like this keep in mind also, the police went to the guy's house. Guy's there, he's been strip searched. He's in a cell, probably naked with a blanket. The other police go to his home where his wife and infant child are, say, your husband's downtown, you have to come with us. Meanwhile, the children are taken away by family services for an interview. Like, imagine this happening to your own family. And so that's when people start using the term police state, because that's how they feel when they're living through this.
I've made my bones all these years being thought of as a pro-cop kind of guy. And, Kris, I'll take a chance and say you're a pro-cop, pro-military. That's kind of who we are. We're John and Mary Canada, and we love our police officers. We love our military types. And it saddens the hell out of me that institutions like police forces, national police forces like the Mounties, local police forces, I don't know what's happening to them, the political correctness virus, or, just the dumbing down of all institutions. But this is really, really sad. I'd love to raise kids the same way I was raised, looking up to the police officer and seeing the police officer as a guardian of your rights, as a crime fighter, not as someone who just is some namby-pamby, panty-waist gopher for some social workers and some politically correct ideology. I mean, I don't think I'm overreacting here. I'm actually understating it. But that's how citizens of Adler Nation have reacted on my Facebook, on my show. Brian Lilly was doing some radio today. He's getting the same thing. And we can't even say that this is an isolated incident, because all kinds of people are coming out of the woodwork saying, yeah, this kind of stuff is happening to them. So, yeah. Kris, I mean, you know, how does the average citizen push back on something like this? He feels like he's got the entire evolution of society up against him.
Well, it really seems that way, doesn't it, Charles? I see two separate things here. There's one, like you said, the namby-pamby socialism sort of influence over the police that seem to have. But keep in mind, behind that smiling face is a big boot of the law. When they show up at your house saying, you're coming downtown, I'm a police officer, give your kids over to this social worker, you feel pretty powerless. The state is at your doorstep there. So no matter how much they smile or how much they couch it, that's the reality. So there's that happening here, but there's the reason why it's happening, and a lot of people have drawn the conclusion, including us here at Sun News Network, is that it's this feeling towards rightful, lawful, law-abiding gun owners that's creating this knee-jerk reaction. Like you said, they have to submit to a search whenever anybody sees fit, whenever the state sees fit. There's two different levels of freedom going on in Canada in this case. There's law-abiding gun owners, and then there's law-abiding people who don't own guns. And a lot of people find a problem with that, and that's where I think there's a big cultural difference. You know, I'm hesitant to say that my family, you know, we grew up eating hunted meat. I don't really want to tell you how we got a hold of that, even though it was all perfectly legal, because this is just, it creeps people out. And we also got calls into our local radio station with one man called in saying, my son, I have 4 children, I hunt for their meat. I hunt game meat, deer, moose, whatever. He mentioned in school, my daddy hunts for our meat. With a gun? Yes, with a gun. Apparently, while this husband was out at work, a social worker showed up at his home and interviewed his wife. Insisted to come in and sit down. So, do you feel safe in your home? Answer all these questions. You know, that's where people are having trouble with this.
There's a war on, folks. It's a war against Canadian values. And as you folks know, here at Sun News, we're on your side. You've got stories like this, please email us. Charles Adler at sunmedia.ca or chris.sims at sunmedia.ca. Please let us know. Be a part of the Sun Force.